Have you ever stopped to think about, well, all the plastic we use every day, not just as waste, but maybe as a kind of hidden economic powerhouse?
It's a fascinating question, really.
It is, and it cuts right to the heart of, our global economy and sustainability. So today, we're doing a deep dive into exactly that, the global post-consumer recycled plastic market. We've got insights from a detailed market forecast by Cognitive Market Research, and our mission, really, is to unpack the numbers and understand the, frankly, surprising scale and rapid growth of this market. Might be some aha moments.
And it's important to stress, this isn't just about environmental initiatives or feeling good. Those are part of it, sure.
Right.
But what's truly significant here, I think, is that this market shows a fundamental shift in how industries are approaching resource management. It's the circular economy in practice.
Yeah, circular economy.
Exactly. Yeah. Keeping materials in use, designing them to be repurposed, not just thrown away, turning waste into valuable stuff. It's driving innovation, and honestly, it's critical for the future.
Okay, so let's get into the scale then. Let's unpack this. In 2021, the global market value was just over $9.1 billion.
A decent starting point.
A decent start, yeah. But here's where it gets really exciting. The forecast jumps to almost $14 billion by 2025.
Wow.
And then, get this, it's projected to hit a staggering $31.8 billion by 2033.
$31.8 billion.
That's a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of nearly 11%, 10.98% to be exact.
What's fascinating there is, well, it's not just small steps, is it? That consistent double-digit growth, it signals a real industrial shift.
Definitely feels like
it. Shows this global recognition that plastic waste isn't just a problem, it's actually a resource, a valuable one.
Yeah.
You see major brands now setting these ambitious targets for using recycled content.
Yeah, you do see that everywhere now.
It's fundamentally changing their supply chains. That's the circular economy really moving, designing waste out of the system.
Okay, so if that's the big picture, where is this growth really taking off? We zoom in, one region just leaps out. Asia Pacific.
Ah, yes, the powerhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's not just the largest market now, it's also forecast to be the fastest growing. Back in 2021, its value was just over $4.1 billion. By 2025, that's expected to surge past $6.3 billion. And then a massive $15.1 billion by 2033.
$15 billion. Just in Asia Pacific.
It's in Asia Pacific. And its CAGR is even higher, 11.53%.
Correct.
What surprises me here is just how dominant it's becoming.
Well, if you connect it to the bigger picture, it makes a lot of sense. Strategically, you've got huge populations, rapid industrialization.
Sure.
And crucially, governments there are really pushing ambitious environmental policies, regulations around waste, faster than maybe anywhere else.
Right, that policy aspect is key.
It creates both immense demand for recycled materials and the infrastructure to supply it. I mean, look at China, their market. Projected to more than quadruple by 2033.
From what, about $1.2 billion initially?
Yeah, from $1.2 billion to over $4.5 billion. Or India, Japan, South Korea, each seeing their markets more than triple. It just shows how fast they're integrating recycling into their industrial core.
And it's not just those big 3 or 4. The numbers for Australia, Singapore, Southeast Asia generally, Taiwan, they're all showing really significant growth too, from hundreds of millions to approaching or exceeding $1 billion each by 2033.
Exactly. It's broad-based growth within the region.
So moving from that colossal growth in Asia, let's shift focus. North America. The drivers might be a bit different, but the growth is still pretty impressive, very steady.
Steady is a good word for it.
Its market size was just over $2 billion in 2021, projected to reach nearly $6.6 billion by 2033. Still a solid CGR, over 10%.
Still double digits.
Still double digits. Oh. And the U.S., as you probably guessed, leads the way, almost $1.7 billion in 2021, heading towards $5.4 billion.
Right.
But Canada's significant too, nearly $200 million, growing to almost $700 million. And Mexico, over $150 million, growing to just over $500 million.
Yeah, and the drivers in North America, they often seem to stem more from strong corporate sustainability goals, ESG targets, things like that.
Right, the corporate pressure.
And also significant consumer demand for eco-friendly products. Plus, there's substantial investment happening in advanced recycling tech there.
Ah, the technology side.
Yeah, things like improving sorting, handling mixed plastics. That used to be a real bottleneck, but it's getting much better. That helps push North America's growth, even though it's, a more mature market in some ways.
Okay, so from Asia's rapid expansion and North America's steady innovation, let's cross the Atlantic. Europe, a bit more established perhaps, but its own growth story.
That's right.
Europe's market was, let's see, over $1.7 billion in 2021. estimated to hit nearly 5.8 billion by 2033. And it's a real mix across the continent.
It's diverse, yeah.
Germany, for instance, set to more than triple its market, getting over 1.1 billion.
Yeah.
The UK and France also showing big growth. UK nearing 900 million, France over 630 million by 2033, Italy, Russia, Spain, all showing growth well into the hundreds of millions.
And those nuances across European nations are interesting. You see different regulatory approaches really driving things.
Like what specifically?
Well, some countries have these very progressive extended producer responsibility schemes. EPR, they call it.
Right, where the companies making this stuff are responsible for recycling it.
Exactly. It forces them to think about design, about collection, about reprocessing. Plus, consumer demand for sustainable products is generally very high across Europe.
Makes sense.
The challenge sometimes, though, is harmonizing all those different national rules to create a truly seamless, continent-wide circular economy. But the growth is definitely there. Even smaller countries like Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, Luxembourg show strong projected increases.
Now, here's where I think it gets really interesting, maybe a bit surprising. We're not just talking about the usual suspects, the big economies.
Okay.
Let's look at South America, the Middle East, and Africa. They're all showing really significant projected growth, even from a smaller starting base.
Right. High growth rates off a lower base can be quite telling.
Exactly. South America is set to nearly quadruple its market, from just over 500 million in 2021 to over 1.9 billion by 2033. Brazil's a key player there, obviously.
Nearly $1 billion just for Brazil by 2033.
In the Middle East, also strong growth, from just over 400 million to over 1.5 billion. Saudi Arabia and Turkey are leading that charge.
Interesting combination.
And Africa, moving from around 255 million to over 900 million by 2033. Nigeria and South Africa are major contributors there.
Almost $1 billion in Africa alone.
Yeah. What's striking is just how consistent the growth is. Strong growth across all these regions, even places you might not immediately associate with massive recycling efforts. It really makes you rethink that plastic bottle you toss out, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And this raises a really important question, I think. How will these emerging markets shape the future global trends?
Yeah, what's their impact going to be?
The potential there is just immense. It's tied directly to their economic development, improvements in waste collection, processing infrastructure.
Which are happening rapidly in many places.
Exactly. And also a growing environmental awareness among the people there. As these economies grow, their ability and their drive to manage waste grows too. We're seeing facilities popping up where there was basically nothing just a few years ago. It signals big shifts in the global supply chain for recycled materials.
So let's pull this all together. We've gone from a global market of just over 9 billion in 2021, rocketing towards nearly 32 billion by 2033. We've seen the powerhouses like Asia Pacific, the steady innovation in North America and Europe, and these really exciting emerging frontiers in South America, the Middle East, and Africa. What does it all mean for you, the listener?
Well, these aren't just numbers on a page, right? They're indicators of pretty fundamental global shifts.
Right.
We're seeing a tangible move in manufacturing towards more sustainable practices. That's driven by consumers wanting greener products, but also by tech advances making recycling cheaper and better.
And investment opportunities too, presumably.
Oh, absolutely. Big investment opportunities in infrastructure, in processing technology, in material innovation. It's really proof of how our relationship with resources is changing, moving away from that old take, make, dispose linear model.
It really feels like it. So it's clear. The global post-consumer recycled plastic market isn't just growing, it's exploding, driven by everyone, major economies, emerging regions. It feels like a monumental shift.
It really does. So maybe a final thought for you to consider. As you go about your day, think about how this massive growth in recycled plastic might fundamentally change our relationship with waste, with manufacturing, even with resource scarcity in the coming decades. What kind of world does a nearly $32 billion recycled plastic market really imply for all of us?
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, what other overlooked industries might be right on the edge of that kind of exponential growth and transformation? Something to think about. We definitely encourage you to keep digging and continue your own deep dives.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a look into something really central right now. It's right where environmental responsibility meets industrial innovation. We're talking about the post-consumer recycled plastic market. PCR plastics. This is where that whole idea of a greener future, well, it starts to get real.
Absolutely. And our mission today, is to really cut through the noise. We want to pull out the key insights, especially using the great research from cognitive market research. The goal is to give you, our listener, a clear picture of the surprising innovations, the big trends, and the shifts that are really reshaping industries globally towards, hopefully, a more sustainable path. Honestly, understanding PCR plastics, it's kind of a shortcut to getting up to speed on a vital, fast-moving sector.
Okay, let's dig into that. What's really driving this big push for PCR plastics? Why are they becoming so critical all of a sudden? I mean, first up, you have to talk about government regulations, right? The rules around plastic waste.
Yeah, definitely. And the key thing here, I think, is that these aren't just suggestions anymore. They're actually creating market demand, mandatory demand, in fact. It forces companies to put real R&D money into PCR development, maybe money that would have gone elsewhere.
Right, like you see with, say, France's AGEC law. It's not just banning things, it's setting actual percentages for recycled content.
Exactly. And what's interesting is how these rules aren't just about ticking a compliance box now. They're actively shaping the market, kind of forcing companies to rethink materials and really adopt more circular approaches. It's a real top-down push for change.
Okay, so the regulations are definitely big shove, but what about demand from, us? From consumers? Are people really looking for PCR content, or is it still just a nice extra for brands?
That's a great question. And the data we're seeing suggests it's shifting from nice to have towards, almost non-negotiable for many. Consumers, especially younger ones, seem to be actively choosing brands based on this. We actually see sales boosts for brands that are clear about using PCR. So yeah, it's a real market driver now, not just a regulation thing. It's becoming an expectation.
An expectation. Okay, so it's not just compliance, it's about staying competitive too. If consumers are demanding it, that must hit the bottom line.
It does. And that brings us neatly to the next big driver, the economics and the energy efficiency side of things. It's true, using PCR materials generally means using fewer virgin resources, lower greenhouse gas emissions. That's known. But the really critical point is when that sustainable option also makes financial sense. Maybe it's cheaper, maybe more energy efficient to process, especially for big users like construction or automotive or textiles. When that happens, that's when you see really broad industrial change. It moves beyond just good intentions. It becomes smart business.
Yeah, that makes sense. It all sounds pretty positive, though, doesn't it? Like a clear win-win. But we know it's not quite that simple. We hear from manufacturers who want to use more PCR, maybe even go 100%, but they hit roadblocks, supply issues, or performance problems. So what are the real hurdles? What's slowing things down?
You've touched on a really key point there. One of the biggest barriers is definitely quality inconsistency and material degradation. Recycled plastics often have impurities, maybe color differences. Sometimes they're just not as strong as virgin plastic. And that, unfortunately, makes them unsuitable for certain jobs. Things that need really high performance, where quality can't be compromised, think medical stuff or food containers.
Like trying to bake a fancy cake, but you've got, I don't know, gravel in the flour. For some things, it just won't work.
That's a good analogy, actually. And if the material isn't, as you say, pristine enough for those high-value uses, like a baby ball or something, well, those markets stay closed off. That really limits the overall potential for recycled content in some areas.
Right. And that pristine enough standard, that connects to infrastructure, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
Which leads to the next big challenge. Just not enough of the right kind of recycling infrastructure. We lack good collection systems, advanced sorting facilities, especially in many developing parts of the world. Without really efficient ways to sort out the different plastic types, clean them properly, decontaminate them. Well, making high-quality PCR at scale is just incredibly hard.
So even if the demand is there, if you can't reliably get clean, sorted material.
Exactly. You hit a bottleneck, we end up downcycling a lot of plastic into lower-value things, which, doesn't create a huge economic pull for recyclers either.
Which brings us to cost, I guess. That transformation process from waste to usable plastic isn't free.
Far from it. That's the third major hurdle. All those steps, sorting, washing, grinding, reprocessing, they add up. It can be quite costly. Sometimes, believe it or not, the final recycled plastic pellet ends up being more expensive than brand new virgin plastic. And that price difference, well, it can definitely put off manufacturers, especially if they're very price sensitive. Creates a bit of a chicken and egg problem,
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, so those are some significant challenges: quality, infrastructure, and cost. But let's shift focus. Looking into what's on the horizon. What innovations are you seeing that could genuinely tackle these issues? What gets you excited?
Oh, absolutely. There's some really promising stuff happening, developments that could, really change the game for PCR. One big trend is the rise of chemical recycling technologies.
Okay, chemical recycling, how's that different from the usual melting and reforming?
Well, unlike traditional mechanical recycling, chemical methods, things like pyrolysis or depolymerization, they actually break the plastic down much further, right back to its basic molecular building blocks, the monomers. And this isn't just a technical difference, it's huge because it means you can create resins that are basically identical to virgin quality.
Ah, so potentially pure enough even for those tricky applications.
Precisely. It opens the door for things like food packaging, which mechanical recycling often struggles with because of those potential purity issues we talked about. It's a real game changer for circularity.
That really does expand the possibilities, doesn't it? What else is driving change?
Another major force is corporate action. Big sustainability initiatives from global companies. You see giants like Unilever, Nestle, Coca-Cola. They're setting really ambitious targets, like aiming for 100% recyclable packaging or using significant amounts of PCR material.
And these aren't just PR exercises.
Increasingly, no. What's interesting for anyone tracking this space is seeing how these big corporate goals aren't just boosting demand for any PCR, they're specifically demanding higher quality PCR. That pushes innovation further down the chain in how the waste is prepared, how the recycled plastic is formulated. Things that used to be niche challenges are now getting serious investment. These commitments really drive investment in the needed infrastructure, and they also encourage collaboration.
Yeah.
Governments, NGOs, industry, all working together towards, real circular economy models.
It's definitely powerful when those huge corporations put their weight and their investment behind it. Anything else on the tech front?
Yes, absolutely. The third place is the ongoing technological innovation in the actual sorting and processing itself. We're seeing big steps forward thanks to things like AI being used for waste sorting, much smarter sensor-based systems to separate different plastic types, vastly better washing technologies.
So getting better at cleaning and sorting the waste in the first place.
Exactly. It's not just faster, it's more precise. These advances mean recyclers can pull out much higher quality plastic streams from that mixed consumer waste. And that, in turn, unlocks opportunities in those more demanding markets. Maybe specific parts in cars or electronics that just couldn't use recycled stuff before because of purity worries.
Okay, so bringing it all together then. For you, the listener, what's the main takeaway? It really sounds like this PCR market is set for some major transformative growth. It seems to have this powerful mix behind it, of the regulations pushing, the technology enabling, and crucially, the consumers pulling.
Precisely. It's a potent combination. And maybe a final thought for you to chew on, thinking about everything we've discussed. The challenge is yes, but also these incredible innovations and the clear shift in what people expect. How might widespread PCR adoption really change things in the next, say, 10 years? Not just manufacturing or supply chains, but maybe even our own everyday relationship with the products we buy and the waste we create. It really feels like PCR plastics are moving beyond just being the greener choice. Increasingly, they look like the smarter choice too.